Start a watch party. Should I start a watch party? I don't know what that means. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what that means. I don't know how to do that. Share to your... Share now. Share like this. Un momento.
I'm glad we're doing this live.
Un momento. Un momento. People are like, this is the comedy part.
Right, it's comedy. It's comedy. Watching two middle-aged, overweight, balding rabbis try to figure out how to post something on their page.
I haven't started balding yet, just for the record.
You had that high on forehead when you were a child?
Yeah, this is. I have no receding hairline yet.
Well, I guess if you started it with a head start.
Yeah.
It's like somebody with alopecia saying, "I'm not bald, I have alopecia."
Right. See.
But it's kind of a difference without a delineation, guy.
Okay. Let's go, wise guy. We're all set here now.
When I see that background of Israel, man, on your wall, I love that.
Yeah. See, I came up on my porch because I can't do the view because if I do the view, then you have an issue. Let me see if I can hold on a second without knocking everything over here. If I can move the camera up, so you get more of the map. It's better, right? So I realize I can get more of the what's it called. I can't get the view because of the sunlight, but I can get the what's it called. I can get the map at least.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice.
Yeah, my mother painted it. My mother's an artist. I'm also an artist. I make jewelry, but she's like a real painter artist.
I mean, I believe you, and I'd like to see the jewelry before I determine whether or not you're an artist.
I'll make.
You know, my 2-year-old son Yoni, he also makes jewelry. He doesn't consider himself an artist.
I've sold my pieces.
To who?
And we're gonna name them nameless because they might be collecting them. No, but I have. I'm serious. On eBay. And
No, I really do.
I make cufflinks. I take old Israeli coins, and I make cufflinks out of them. What?
Like a simonim?
I can do a simonim. I have. I've made a simonim. I've made like old shkolim. I've made for Ambassador Friedman's chief of staff, Rabbi Lightstone. I made him nickels, which he then showed to Mr. Sheldon Adelson, who always says I started with 2 nickels, and he says, "See, I'm starting with 2 nickels," and he, you know.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but Sheldon Adelson started at nickels with a lot of money.
He turned it into a lot of money, but he started with 2 nickels. Yeah. Okay. You ready to get started here?
Ready.
I only have one Hillel like branding thing. You seem to have a lot though.
What do you mean?
I don't know if you've checked behind you. We talked about this last time, but I'm still mesmerized by your wallpaper. It's clear.
Yeah. Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
We have, actually, we're doing a really cool alumni podcast. That's been fun. We've done them for a couple weeks running now about like social justice issues and Black Lives Matter and privilege and things like that. It's been a lot of fun. That's not what you and I are here to talk about today.
No, not at all. I already lost half my friends on Black Lives Matter, so okay.
What's happening?
Half of 3s, 1.5. The one guy talks to me only in the middle of the day. Okay, so okay, so our topic is Zionism and is it consistent with Torah values and the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel. Zionism, the modern state of Israel, and is it consistent? Torah values hasn't changed, but there could be an argument that Zionism and the state of Israel hasn't stayed the same. So somebody against the state of
Israel hasn't stayed the same?
No, I'm saying somebody that was against Zionism, let's say in the 1830s or the 1880s, might walk to the state of Israel today and say, "Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be."
So can we define terms? Because I feel like when we use like Zionism, or in our last discussion, privilege. Like, what does that mean? It means different things to different people. So could you define Zionism before we discuss it?
I'll tell you what I think Zionism is, but there's a great book called The Zionist Ideals, which I suggest everybody reads. But if you're not going to read the 400-page book by Dr. Gil Troy.
Would we be like the right for Jews to have a self-determination
Yeah. Zionism is the Jews should have the right to self-determine their own fate on their own land, on their historic land. That's Zionism. But there's different permutations. There's secular Zionism. There's religious Zionism, right? So there are like 400 different Zionist thinkers, each with their own revisionist Zionism. So.
But again, just so we're clear, if Zionism means the right to Jewish self-determination in a land or in their land?
In their, I say very important, because else.
It works.
Right, no, because otherwise it wouldn't be Zionism. It would be like Ugandanism.
Well, no, maybe it would be.
It would be Jewishism.
Right, it could be. Sure, yeah.
I'm saying, but we call it Zionism because this is Zion.
Yeah. So they and for those who don't know, Har Zion, Mount Zion, refers to the Temple Mount, the noble sanctuary.
The Temple Mount, where the mosque is today, but it also became, in rabbinic literature, it became the name of the city of Jerusalem, not just the mount.
Sure. Not just rabbinic Judaism.
In the Torah.
All the way back in Tanakh, you can find it, but it's like sort of concentric circles, right? So you have like the nucleus. When you talk about America, does it refer to the center of power in America? Is it the financial district? Is it the White House? Is it the country? Is it the nation? Is it the military? So yeah, it can be used.
I hear.
So back to Zionism. You were saying.
Yeah. So the question is, is it a Torah value to create a movement? Is it consistent with Torah values to create a movement that would be that would aim to have Jews self-determine their own fate in their own land? That's the question.
Where did the word movement come from? Because that wasn't in our definition.
Well, I think Zionism was a movement, so I guess if we're putting it in practical terms, okay. So if we're talking about just the ideal, Zionism, the ideal, yeah. So I guess you would say that Zionism, the ideal, is a is that consistent with Torah values? Jews having self-determination in their own land.
Well, so I wonder, can we back up for a moment?
Yeah.
Because the word Zionism gets a bad rap for a whole bunch of reasons, some of which are actually really good reasons. But do Jews have a different right to self-determination in their land than Indians?
According to whom?
Anybody. I'm just curious, right?
Yeah. So some people think that Jews. Right.
Curious if there's any difference there. Like, can the Iraqis live in Iraq? Do they have a right to self-determination? Is there any such a right? And if there is such a right, then to whom does it belong and to whom does it not belong, and how do you determine it?
Right. So I think it's important to note that now we're getting into more like a political discussion, but there's you first have to be a people, right? So yeah, it can't be if you're not a people, you can't have a right to self-determination as a group. That's not a group. You understand what I'm saying? 15 guys get together and they say
the redheads can't take over the state of Colorado.
Right, and say we have as redheads we have a right to self-determination as redheads. Each of those redheads has a right to determine their own fate, but not as a group. So what a lot of people will do is say that the Jewish people aren't really a group. They're not a group that has the right to self-determine. So that's where you get into a sticky situation when people say you're just a religion. You're not a people. You're a religion. So it's
we're a religion.
Right.
We're a religion.
Right. You get into this whole thing about religion versus peoplehood, nation.
That's great. I'm sorry. I find that hilarious.
Well.
I find that hilarious. The fact that people think that Judaism is a religion is so funny to me.
Why do you find it so objectionable / funny?
Well, I didn't say it was objectionable. I merely said it was comical.
Okay.
Because I've never met two Jews who believe the same thing. So when you say that Judaism is a religion, like, oh, do you mean Orthodox Judaism or do you mean Reform Judaism? They're not the same. Right? We're all aware that Orthodox Judaism has more in common with Catholicism than it does with Reform Judaism.
There's harsh words here. Yeah. Okay.
No, that's an analysis. What are you talking about? It's obvious. Everybody knows that.
Okay.
Not culturally.
Okay.
Religiously, right? So that's number one. And yet nobody would say that, Orthodox Jews are are or are not Jews, and Reform Jews are or are not Jews. They're all Jews. And then if you were to also zoom in on Jewish Orthodox, you're going to say that you're going to tell me, you, right, because you know me a little bit. You're going to say that I and my brother-in-law, who I happen to love, is a hardcore wrestler for busted. You believe these things?
Right here. Right.
But we're a nation. Because it turns out that a nation doesn't have to believe the same things.
Right.
I mean, a great example. You could be Mormon, or Christian, or atheist, and you could be American. You could be all those things. Black, white, purple, tall, short, fat, skinny, doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so let's go back to. So in terms of that, that's why people say that Jews don't have a right to self-determine on their own land, because they say there's no such thing as Jews.
No such thing.
Right, I'm saying there are Jews, but they're a religion. You know, they're not a people. So like when you ask me about Iraqis, so 80 years ago there was no such thing as an Iraqi. There's no Iraq, right? So if you don't have a country called Iraq, how could you have Iraqis, right? And then people obviously will say that about Palestinians. They'll say, you know, before 1964, no Arab ever identified as a Palestinian, so they're not a people. So nobody's a people anymore. You know, like that's you know, we say nobody's a people.
Or perhaps you just maybe you give examples of that aren't real, and there are groups that are real. Right? We would have to determine how would you
Determine, right? Yeah.
How would you categorize?
I think this is way off where we're going though.
Where are we going? Okay,
We want to go back to Torah.
I'm ADD, you know me.
Yeah. We gotta go back a little to Torah here. Well, the Torah is consistent with Zionism. I think that's so if we talk about whether Torah is consistent with Zionism. So I think the question is there anything really that we just said, Jews self-determining their own fate in their own land, that now goes against the Torah?
Jews self-determining. Well, yeah, Jews self-determining is against the Torah.
Okay.
Like the fact that you think, not you, but the fact that a person would think, here's a good example. It says in the Torah that you're not allowed to worship idols. It says it, I read it.
38 times.
Really? 38?
Yeah, I think so. 37 might be, but I think it's 38.
38 times. 38 times. And by the way, for those of you who are listening, both of you, there's a difference between all 38 times. Otherwise, it wouldn't tell you 38 times, it would tell you one time. But we can talk about that some other time. So, it says in the Torah you're not allowed to worship idols. Well, let's say that all the Jews get together and take a vote and determine that they're allowed to worship idols. So
Yeah.
it'd be like, you can vote, but it's not a democracy.
Right.
So you don't have a right to do anything that's against the Torah, according to the Torah.
Right, but I think when we talk about self-determination, I think we're talking about in terms of what we can do as opposed to what other people tell us what we have to do. So that was the question. In other words, when the Nazis didn't allow us to determine our own future, the communist Russians didn't, right? So they didn't. So none of these people. This is like not even my kid. That's not my kid. This is. He's not mine. I don't know what he's doing, and he's like standing. For some odd reason, he's standing right behind. I don't know what he's doing. It's like a kid from the neighborhood just walked onto my porch. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway.
Collars on them so you can return them to the owner.
I don't know. Their parents usually send out emails. Okay. So anyway, so has anybody seen my kid? Welcome to settlement life. Anyway, and I cannot understand. He's not like touching me or anything. I don't know what he's doing behind me, but he's never done this before. But I think he's humming. But anyway, the point is like back to what we're saying here. Self-determination is self-determining, right? To the to you being able to decide, the Jews being able to decide what they want to do, and no one else can tell them what to do. Not that we're self-determining away from God.
Well, okay. So then, let's say I'm married to a non-Jew, and I live and she's my wife, but she's not Jewish, so she doesn't get to self-determine because she's like only Jews can self-determine.
You're saying according to the definition that depends on whose definition of Zionism.
According to your definition.
Right. So I'm saying that's a little too more detailed for the ideal of Zionism. Zionism is a principle. It's not a rule book. You know what I'm saying? So now you're asking if this. You know what I'm saying? It's not a religion. It's not a set of laws.
Fair. So we can attack those little details later. Now let's get the broad picture.
Right. We'll create a state, and then the state will have laws that based on those principles.
So you're saying, would the Torah? Let me just rephrase the question for you so that I understand it. Would the Torah? This is great, right? It's again the same two rabbis who are not both apparently are now arguing over how to phrase questions. So, would the Torah support Jews having a legal system in the state of Israel?
Right. That might be different than the Torah's legal system.
When was it not?
No, well, I'm saying I'm going back and forth. I'm going to be pre-state. Like Zionism is pre-state. So according to the definition of Zionism, it's not specifically not the Torah laws, right? It's whatever the people that eventually move to the state determine what laws they want. So if the people move to...
What do the laws have to do with Torah laws? I'm sorry, I'm confused. The Torah is set up a political system that you have to adhere to.
Right. So I'm saying, but Zionism doesn't necessarily contradict that. Zionism would allow a Torah system to be set up, and Zionists wouldn't say, wait a minute, this isn't Zionism. That's not true.
Yeah. Like, what does the Torah think about falafel?
Right. Make a bracha on it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Right. So people think that, that if you live in Israel, then Jewish law says that everyone has to follow Jewish law. That's not true, because I live in Miami and I have to follow Jewish law. Jewish law follows you.
Yeah.
Wherever you go.
Well, there are mitzvos. There are mitzvos that only apply in what's called. There are mitzvos that only apply in Eretz Yisrael.
Yes, and there are mitzvos that only apply to men or to women or to Kohanes or to
Right.
Nazarites. That's all true. That's all true.
So I'm saying, so certain mitzvos don't follow you.
Yeah. That's a problem. It's a big deal, but it's true. So in the state of Israel, you can have a democracy, and you totally fine according to the Torah, can you not?
Well, only if the majority happens to vote consistently with the rules of the Torah. The minute the majority, and by the way, no. I would say there's an inherent issue with voting whether to follow the mitzvos or not. Who are we as a body of people to vote whether or not to follow the mitzvos? As I have individual free choice.
Right.
I can decide whether or not to follow the mitzvos. That's up to, but I can't, as a nation, we can't do that.
But agreed. But again, let's go back. Why would the nation be voting on a mitzvah?
Right.
Nations don't vote on mitzvahs. You don't vote on whether or not you have to eat matzah on Passover. The Torah says eat matzah. You don't want to eat matzah? Don't eat matzah.
Right.
You could take a vote and be like, none of us are going to eat matzah, and that's fine. That's good for you. But
Right.
It doesn't. You don't need a law that you have to eat matzah, so you don't have to eat matzah.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking like you do have a legislative body. You have the Sanhedrin that does vote. It's not like it's so clear cut, right? You do have things that we vote on.
That's not a vote. The Sanhedrin voting is like the Supreme Court justices voting. They're not voting.
No, it's more like Congress.
Why? The Supreme Court renders an opinion.
But the Sanhedrin can decide to institute a law or not, a derabanan.
That's because the structure of the House of Government is different. But in terms of the way that the Sanhedrin rules, the way that they make a ruling, they rule the same way the Supreme Court does, except there are 71 justices instead of 9.
I disagree. I think they're both the legislative and the judicial bodies if you compare it to America. So they take a majority vote whether to make a law or not.
Yes, I agree with you. You're saying that is a trot, a detail of what they do, and it's specific because the only time that here, I want to make sure that I phrase this the right way. He also just like, you have to be very careful about what you say because people are going to want. I'm like, no. But anyway.
No, I was listening.
Why would the Sanhedrin ever pass a law? What do all of the laws that the Sanhedrin has ever passed in history, what do they have in common?
They're all ways to either enhance or guard the laws of the Torah.
Exactly. So it's not so analogous to Congress. It's analogous to Congress in that they have the ability to legislate, whereas the SCOTUS doesn't. I mean, they do all the time, but they don't. And they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to create laws or branch for that. So in Judaism also, the rabbis are not, the Sanhedrin's not there to create laws. They are there to tell you what the law is.
No.
And somehow protect the law.
I disagree. because there are times where they do have to create laws. Much the same way Congress is going to create laws in order to make sure America lives by the principles of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So too, the Sanhedrin is going to institute laws to ensure that we live according to the values of the Torah and the laws of the Torah.
Good. So again, I think that I anticipated that point, but I want to say it again, and you'll call me on it if I.
Okay.
Congress does not merely create laws to protect existing laws in the Constitution. Congress legislates all of the socio-economic and criminal laws within the justice system of the country. That is not the role of the Sanhedrin at all. The role of the Sanhedrin is merely, it only creates laws. The main purpose is not to create any laws. Laws need only be created by the Sanhedrin when there is already a problem with an existing law.
Okay.
So for example, right? So
Okay.
it's very, very different. The person who is supposed to create the laws for the country, the social laws and the economic laws, those are the local governments or the federal government. When I say local versus federal, because when you talk about tort laws in Judaism, you talk about like what happens if someone rear ends your car on the I-95. Well, the answer is that depends. Depends. Because in this municipality, these are the laws. In that municipality, those are the laws. That's fine. The courts have nothing to say about that.
Right.
That's what people who live there who decide. And then the federal laws should come from the king or the governing body. When we say, again, when you say the king in Judaism, that gets all sorts of, things going
Right.
in your head. Because, oh, king, okay, put that away. The point is federal government. But also federal laws, like getting rid of mafias and maintaining the security and the safety of the people and infrastructure and things like that.
Right. Yeah, okay. It's a question of how broad it is. Okay, let's bring this back. Yeah. Okay. So bring it back to the idea of whether or not this is... So it's clear that self-determination, right, would only be consistent with the Torah if we mean self-determination away from other people or other nations telling us what we can and cannot do. That's what we mean. That's, in other words, I want to be able, when somebody tells me, when some nation tells me I can't go to synagogue on Saturday, right? So that, now I don't have the self-determination, right? So that's one way of self-determination, right? So insofar as I want to determine my own fate to follow the Torah, many nations throughout our history have not allowed us to do that. So Zionism, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Zionism comes along and says we should be able to determine what we want to do, not what other nation creates laws for us that tells us what we can do or not. So that's consistent with the Torah. The idea of self-determination, meaning myself, as absent of all other systems, whatever I decide, that's not a Torah value. That's now, that's Chofshi.
Yes.
Right. That's not good.
No.
What?
I named this building for the Republic of Sprung.
Right.
And this is not mine.
Right.
Okay. So, again, if Zionism just means the right for Jews to self-determine, then perhaps we should use a different word for it, and that word should be justice, or truth, or fairness, because it's not something that's indigenous to Jews. The fact that there has to be a word for it, the fact that there has to be a special word that allows Jews to vote in their own land, but not the French to vote in their own land, is a little unfortunate. I mean, granted,
Right.
that the idea of Zionism really grew out of France, because that's where Herzl was when he realized that we have this problem. We require self-determination. But Jews shouldn't have their own...
Well, there are. We're not the only ones with this issue. Like the Kurds, right? The Kurds live in what?
The fact that we have word for it is sad.
No, so things the Kurds. If the Kurds were more politically adept, they'd also have a word for it. Kurdisanizing. I don't know, whatever like they.
Aren't politically adept, or do you think they live in a place where the press aren't allowed to go in because they'll be killed by the...
No. They have like their own area. They're very pro-Israel. You can go there. You can fly there today. It's perfectly safe in northern Iraq.
People around them who are killing them in Iraq and in Turkey.
Right. They don't have their own because they don't have their own country. They want to take the.
Right, or evil.
Right. Yes. 100%. Right. So it's just like what we had. My point is that the only reason why we have our own word is not because we're the only ones in the world like this. It's because we're the only ones that were politically adept enough to be able to say, hey, if we coin a phrase for this, and I don't think it was for the other nations of the world to get it. I think it was for our own people to understand what we were talking about.
Agreed. It was.
Right. So I think that's why we have. There are plenty of people in the world, unfortunately, who are. I just can't think of anybody besides the Kurds, but I'm sure there are others that are people.
How about the Tibetans?
Tibetans, right? Yeah. People in Tibet, and Taiwanese. Soon to be the people in Hong Kong.
The Taiwanese actually do have a country and a government, and they're surrounded by a justice system.
Right. So I'm saying, right. Maybe one day they won't need that, but yeah, I think that's.
Might be a good example.
What?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, right? I just said, yeah. In a couple of years, Hong Kong will probably need it. You know, maybe weeks, right? But yeah, so that's I don't think it's like that's the issue, that it's just us. I don't think we needed it. We're the longest that have needed it, but I don't think okay, so that's the first part. Now in our own land, that's very consistent with the Torah.
Yeah. Let's talk about rubber meeting the road here, because you brought up an interesting point, and I thought it was cool. So let's say that there's public transportation, and everybody pays whatever $4 a year from their taxes, so that the buses and the trains will run. Do I have to pay for those buses to run on Saturday if I don't take buses on Saturday, or if I don't feel comfortable with you taking them on Saturday? See, like there's a difference there, because
right. There's a difference in somebody. If I own a car, I can't exempt myself from bus fare.
Right. But the fact that there might be a religious issue here. This is a little bit like the gay cake baker, or the
right.
cake baker who wouldn't bake the cake for the gay couple, right? So
I would say it's more analogous. I would say it's more analogous to Americans who are pro-life having their money going to Planned Parenthood.
Funding abortions, right. And you might even go a step further and say that in Israel the question is even more mimukad, more specific, because in the case of the Planned Parenthood, I, the Catholic, who don't believe in, well, it's not I don't believe in abortions, I think abortions are evil, okay? I, the Catholic, believe that abortions are evil, and by the way, this is not saying anything bad or good about Catholicism, just for the example, okay? So I think that abortions are evil, and they're murderous, and I don't want to fund your abortion. But I agree, I understand that you're not Catholic.
Right.
You're not Catholic. That's not always the case in Israel. What I'm saying is to my brother in Tel Aviv, I'm saying, listen, brother, you and I agree that you're not supposed to be on the bus on Saturday, perhaps, but the truth is that you don't. So
right. Yeah, it's also right. Yeah.
Have public transportation on Shabbat.
Right.
Should they or should they? And should I be forced to pay for it if they do?
Right. And I think there's even forget about just the paying aspect. If I'm going to be part of a governmental system, right? So can't I just elect enough people that agree with me that there shouldn't be buses on Shabbat, and now close?
I love the tyranny of the majority.
Right. So I'm saying so, and then that's it. Like, it's a democracy. Most of us feel that you shouldn't be able to ride a bus on Shabbat, and now you can't ride a bus on Shabbat.
Yeah, but again, there's a difference between saying you can ride a bus on Shabbat to saying I have to pay for the gas.
No, they're two different issues. Yeah.
My Americanism gets in the way, so like I can't think clearly about this question. I really can't. I cannot think clearly about this question because to me, there's a fundamental disconnect in the hardwiring of the state of Israel. This country, the United States of America, is based upon the Constitution. So every law, every ism, every philosophy has to be, or at least until now, must be weighed against the Constitution. Is it kosher or is it not kosher? The state of Israel has no Constitution. So there is no lowest common denominator.
It has basic laws.
That's not the same thing.
But it's similar. It doesn't work as well. But we have to. We can't. You can't have a Supreme Court justice that's just shooting from the hip.
And yet they do all the time.
Which is something that we're trying to change, but like, yeah.
Because it's not. But it comes down to the same point. The problem is that there's not one thing that we all come down to all agree on. And we're not one nation. We're not one people. We're not one country.
Right.
So the fact that So if we had a constitution that said that you cannot drive on Shabbat, then I can say to my friend Tel Aviv, for 1 second, it's not constitutional. And if we have a constitution that says that religion is irrelevant, there's a separation of church and state, then my friend in my brother in Tel Aviv can tell me, Sprung, what does that have to do with you?
Right.
There's no constitution, so then you have a guy with a beard and a guy without a beard screaming at each other across the street in Tel Aviv. But like, they're not starting in the right point.
Right, until we have more guys with beards, or like, you know, and then the 21 guys without beards sit on the Supreme Court and tell the 80 guys with beards that they can't do whatever they want.
The best part of the Israeli Supreme Court is the building, and the worst part of the Israeli Supreme Court are the people in the building. There cannot be.
Well, so it's one of the big things here that they're trying to change. Right. No, I'm saying it's like I yell at Shaked's whole life is trying to get, you know, more conservative judges in and whatever.
It's not the same thing as trying to change it. She wants the corruption to work in her favor.
No. And then she wants the laws to change in terms of what they're able to do, what the Supreme Court's able to do. In other words, if she gets enough judges that won't stop a Knesset from taking power away from the Supreme Court, then she's, you know, but she needs those judges. Yeah, I mean,
right. And again, as a United States of America citizen, when I look at the Supreme Court, I don't want to know how the justices are going to rule. Like recently, with the whole, you know, Roberts ruled this way, the Roberts ruled that way, the Roberts ruled this way.
Right, the big surprise.
It's a prophet, John Roberts, and I'm like, what kind of a conservative are you? You're saying to me that you're conservative and you're angry that that Chief Justice Roberts ruled based upon what he thought was the law?
Right.
What? Like the same crap you shovel at Kagan and Sotomayor, like you're doing that with Roberts. I don't understand. Like I don't want to know how the justice is going to work unless it's an issue of jurisprudence.
Right.
If I know their judicial philosophy, then I can anticipate how they're going to rule. But like, why should there be political affiliation? It's ridiculous. Who was it that said? Right. It was Sotomayor, I think, right? It's a good thing I'm saying this on the internet. I'm pretty sure that she said that there are some decisions that a wise Latino woman would make better than a white man.
I never heard her say that, but I'm not saying she didn't.
Well, maybe I'm making it up, or it was an Onion article. But you can Google it while I blow away the cobwebs that are in my brain.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
He was the one who saw it, and when I saw it, I was like, what?
Yeah. No, I don't think that's right.
Right? If you're wearing that robe, then the whole point is
it's
you're not a,
right. So it's up here.
You're a Supreme Court justice. I don't
right.
know what color you are. It's awful. Anyways, go back to Israel. Israel does not have a common denominator.
Right. Correct.
They're agreeing on everything. So if there's no point that you can go back to, you're dealing with two systems. It's like
right. So now, okay, fine. But if you talk about let's move off of, let's go to the land part, right? So there is a mitzvah to live in the land, right? According to everybody but the Rambam, and half the people that like are super commentators on the Rambam are assume the Rambam holds the mitzvah anyway, right? So you have like it's a very small portion of people out there that would say living in the land of Israel is not a mitzvah. And that question is it an obligatory mitzvah, or is it one of these mitzvahs that you... Right. Right. So do I have to do it, or is it like visiting somebody in the hospital, right? I wake up in the morning, I don't have to visit somebody in the hospital, but if I do, that was a mitzvah, right? So do I have to live in that? That's all the question. But then there's a school of thought out there, which is where you see the biggest objection, I think, to people that say that Torah and Zionism are not in line, is that people say that, yes, there's a mitzvah for the individual to live in Israel, but as a nation, we're not allowed to come back and take over the land until Mashiach's time. And that's where you have like right. So that's where you have a lot of people. And then there's another strain of thought that says that you could take over the land as long as you make it a theocracy and it goes according to the laws of the Torah. But you have no right to take over what?
The Taliban.
I like to call them Samer, but if you, what? Yes. So anyway, so if you're going to set up a state, then that state has to be according to the laws of the Torah.
Oh, and by the way, just so that we're clear, because you use a particular Hasidic group, in Satmar, and we all have family who are Satmar and friends who are Satmar. So
I don't have anybody.
Really? You gotta branch out, right? So, how many daughters do you have?
None that are marrying Samer guys.
I was gonna say, we're gonna dance at that wedding. The mitzvah dance. So, if you're saying to me that there are religious groups, for example, Satmar, there could be many, right? But let's just take Satmar because we invoked it. So if Satmar says that you're allowed to have a state in the land of Israel, but it has to be in accordance with the laws of the Torah, can we all agree that the Satmar definition of the laws of the Torah does not jive with the Sprung definition of the laws of the Torah? For example, is there something called a Rebbe?
Right.
A Rebbe, right, who has supernatural powers and connects you to God? And the answer is, well, either that's the highest ideal in Judaism or it's heresy, one or the other.
Right.
And if you say that one good example of a Jewish law that would deviate based if you're Satmar or Bells is, should a woman shave her head after she gets married? And the answer is, if you fall on this side of the argument, then it's obligatory. If you fall on this side of the argument, then it's a disgusting, awful tragedy that's being perpetrated upon people's daughters. So, I don't know, man.
Or wives.
I'm a theocracy.
Right.
I don't want to live in that theocracy.
Right.
I don't want to live in any theocracy. I don't.
Well, what would you call Messianic times? When a Sanhedrin takes over again, would that not be a theocracy?
No.
What would you call that?
The Sanhedrin, it's a great example, actually. I think that proves what I'm trying to say. Theocracy is interested in doing a certain thing or in a certain way. Theocracies are. And if you don't toe that line, we're going to mete out very, very harsh punishments upon you. So theocracies do. And if you want examples for that, you can spin a globe and put your finger on any theocracy, whether it's a secular theocracy or religious theocracy, because you understand China's a theocracy, right? The theocracy just happens to be that the theos is party as opposed to dios, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the Sanhedrin does not force me to keep Shabbos. In fact, if I'm in my house smoking cigars all Saturday, do you know what the Sanhedrin will do to me? Nothing. The Sanhedrin doesn't care if I eat pork.
Yeah, but I would. Yeah, but hold on a second. I'll take issue with what you said. If the Sanhedrin visits me in my house before Sukkot and says, "Where's your sukkah?" and I say, "I'm not building a sukkah this year," they can beat me until I build it.
Good. So we're getting to the end point. When does the Sanhedrin mete out punishment? Only when a person fights against the system. And in full view of witnesses, with a warning. The Sanhedrin is not interested in policing your bedroom. The Sanhedrin cannot punish you.
I don't agree.
Are you talking about Marcus Bardos?
No, I'm talking about the fact that they can force you in whatever way they want to perform a mitzvah. I'm not talking about punishment after. I'm talking about just performing one of the.
I understand, but let's start, right? Let's start and then let's move the argument on. The Sanhedrin doesn't punish people for doing things that everybody knows they did, unless they're under very defined parameters. And what are those parameters? See the crazy. You ever heard something like the Jewish law makes no sense because in order for a murderer to be killed, right? Judaism believes in capital punishment. Sorry to misquote that. It certainly does. And the murderer, the only way you can kill the murderer is if two witnesses saw the guy was about to murder, and they said, "Hey, Kanyam, if you shoot Shimon Yaina in the face, you're going to be executed in the basket."
Right.
And he's like, "I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway," and then kills him. That guy gets executed. But if he ignores the warning, if he didn't listen, if he says, "Oh, really?" and sneezed in between, then there's no punishment. So what kind of a stupid, castrated legal system is that? The answer is, it's not the role of the court to enforce Judaism.
Yeah, but now I'm gonna have to take issue again, because because the king can extrajudicially execute somebody like that in order to keep the laws going, with no checks and balance on his power.
That's precisely. The courts and the king, right? So the courts will only mete out a punishment when somebody is fighting against the stated goals and the stated laws of the country. In public, with warning. That's when they punish. The king punishment. Why? Because the king's purview is social order. So if Al Capone is creating chaos in the city of Chicago, and you can't convict him because of 1,000 hung juries and all sorts of corruption, the king can shoot him in the face and doesn't have to ask the judge.
And you want to extrapolate from that Judaism's not a theocracy?
It's not a theocracy in the way that I think about theocracies. It's a,
okay.
It's a theocratic, democratic monarchy is what it really is, right? But the terms get confused.
Okay.
So when I say that I don't want to live in a theocracy, I don't want to live in a place where religious people tell other people what they have to do. I don't like that. Again, it might be my Americanism. I don't like it. Hashem tells me what to do. That's
right.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't agree with you on this one, but okay.
So where would you disagree?
I think that people that in an ideal Jewish state, right, meaning the Sanhedrin, king, everything according to the way the Torah lays it out, you have people forcing you to do mitzvahs.
You have people forcing you
to do mitzvahs. You have police officers, shoftim v'shotrim. The shotrim go around on Yom Tov. They patrol the lakes to make sure that boys and girls aren't socializing.
The Taliban.
I'm saying that's a halacha.
Where are those shotrim on Tuba, I wonder?
No, they're not socializing. Everybody's just watching.
Oh. So you're saying could a society institute, because that's an example of not Torah mandated justice, but rather at a certain point people decided to do X. So every society.
Which one are you talking about? Tubav, or are you talking about the shoftim v'shotrim?
Both. Shotrim going out and standing by a lake to make sure that the NCSY kids aren't mingling.
Right.
It's not a Torah law. So every society tries to protect itself against what they perceive to be nefarious outside influences that are undermining their values.
Okay.
That's not Judaism. That's everyone. Everyone does that. Now and it should be hotly debated where to put that line. It should be debated. Because if we ever get to a place where we say, oh yeah, get rid of it every time, or oh yeah, be permissive every time, if you don't have that balance, then no doubt we're either going to become Tehran or Las Vegas.
Right.
And I don't think that we should be either one of those things. We should just be able to visit things.
Okay. I think we got to stop here.
Yeah, man, dude.
This is very good.
Well, that remains to be seen. Well, we're going to let other people make the determination as to whether or not it was very good.
No, I think it was good. Whether they determined it was good or not, that's up to them. But for me, it was good.
You decided, it was good for you. Was it good for you?
It was good for me. It's good for me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Today's my 22nd anniversary. So I say after my first, I'll tell you what I told my wife after my first date. I'd like to do this again.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to tell you what I told my wife after the first date, but I'd also like to do it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay.
Hey.
See ya.